Hello and welcome to another Soccer Insight betting preview brought to you by betting-insight.com. In this preview we're looking at Swansea entertaining Everton. Everton, one of the form teams in the Premier League, and that's reflected possibly in the prices that you'll see in this preview. We rate them at 2.62 on the OP index. Swansea a 2-1 shot at 3.0. The draw 5-2, 3.5. Everton unbeaten in the last 5 games. At Swansea, they're a tough team to beat. Only one defeat in their previous 5 games in the league. So going into the busy Christmas period, you could argue that both teams are in good form. The head-to-head record in the 2 seasons that Swansea have been in the Premier League, Everton have come away with all 3 points. So there could be some, market confidence there. Certainly with their head-to-head, it's been a decent ground thus far for the blue side of Merseyside. Let's have a quick look at the Betfair prices here, and you will notice that Everton a little bit shorter than our index price at 6-4 shot. Swansea 3.2 and the draw bang on 5-2. I could actually see this coming virtually in line with the index prices. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Everton just don't move out a little bit. Swansea, people may want to sort of take that nearly 9-4 almost on the exchanges. Might be slightly bigger. One to sort of watch with that. I would be surprised if Everton pushed in towards 11-8. That would be a little bit too short, given the sort of current form. It's not being reflected too much with the sort of the market love, so to speak, of some of the other teams in and around the top 6 in the Premier League. So, going into the game, what are your options if you fancy either team to win or get a result? Well, quite simply, Swansea are good value on the OP index. So if you do fancy them to win, take that 3.15, 3.2. If you can get that anything above 2-1, you're getting value. So if you do fancy them to come away with all 3 points, then snap that up. Winning margin, that is going to ramp it up to around about 9-4, and we'll talk through that winning margin. And 1 or 2 goals, you can't see Everton losing by 3 or more if they are to lose the game. So that is a live possibility. And another sort of option is, it's quite speculative, Swansea to win either half. You should get around about even money. So it's about half of this sort of our tissue sort of price. You should get about even money, and that's not a bad bet for a team playing at home. Normally you'd associate that sort of price range with a team sort of away from home, around about the even money there. So that's not a bad sort of price there. So you've got a number of options, but in the main, there are value to win the game, and that opens up lots of possibilities. Just sort of covered 3 there if you fancy them to do well. Well, Everton to win, they're no value at the moment. They're a little bit short against the index price, but that's not to say that they're going to remain there. They could drift it, and certainly if they start drifting on the exchanges towards that sort of 2.62, if it's around sort of 2.58 and you fancy them to win, I wouldn't put you off taking that. Okay, I wouldn't put you off taking that sort of price. It's very, very sort of close to that, and it sort of opens up the 1 or 2 goals in the Dutchy market, because that doesn't get to the OP index price at the moment. So you want it to drift, and that will give you that option of ramping up. It just doesn't get there. So it's really, really sort of difficult. One speculative bet to sort of take that price above the index price is the race to 2 goals, and it may take Everton to score 2 goals to win this game. So just sort of think a little bit about that. But also with the race to 2 goals is, if they win the race, then they've got the added coin that they could actually draw 2-2 or lose 3-2. The downside is that they could still go on and win the game, having been losing by 2-1 and not won the race. So there's always falls and against with that sort of bet, and that's why it's in the speculative bet category. Let's have a look at those winning margins, and like I say, is that I'm saying it doesn't sort of get to the index sort of price. it's sort of squeezing there, but it's right, almost right on the borderline that you might get it. I think with most firms it's under, but I've sort of put it in there that you could be sort of getting around that sort of 13 to 8, sort of 262, 264 that it's sort of marked up there. You can see that you're getting 9 to 4 on 1 to sort of 2 goals in that, with that. So again, and another option with this is about 11 to 8 that either team actually win by a 1 goal margin. So if you feel that the game, possibly will end in a result and you don't want to pick the winner, and you don't have to, you might sort of want to take, that option. I'm not sure whether you'd be speculative enough, getting either team to win by a 2 or 3 clear goal margin. I'm not so sure that will actually happen there. Looking at the unders and overs, well, the value here is with the unders side, and if you fancy it to be a tight game, certainly wouldn't put you off. You're almost getting close to even money. You might get that in sort of touches, but you're certainly going to get 10 to 11 on under 2.5 goals market. So if you want to swim against a game, then get involved with that. We certainly rate it a little bit shorter on our sort of index sort of prices, and likewise with the under 1.5 goals as well. That's a fairly sort of decent sort of price. And what you should remember here is that if there's only 1 goal in the game, the chances are that it's going to be around about 8 to 11 the unders price at half time. So that's a lot shorter than what it is now. So there's only 2 goals in the first half that is literally going to take the price above that. So even if there's only just 1 at half time, the price on the unders should be a little bit shorter there. Finally, let's have a look at the OP in play stats, and 0-0 at 25 minutes, just a 38% chance of a goal before half time. That means you're going to get value on back in 0-0 in the half time market and the under 0.5 goals market, and it just sort of a reflection of the profile of this game, that it sort of lends itself to sort of goals a little bit sort of later in the encounter. So based on that sort of stat, it may bring in sort of markets like high scoring half, second half, etc. So you bear that in mind, that the value is going to be there if you want to take that in the half time markets. There's a 72.5% chance of a goal being scored in that middle sort of 45 minutes, 25 to 70, and if that happens, it's a 4 in 5. It's over 4 in 5 games we'll see that second goal. So that takes in all sort of games, goals before that, and goals sort of late. It is the catalyst of that. And finally, it's a 67% chance of a last goal of the match coming after 65 minutes. Okay, so it's really high. And if you think about the stat above, 4 in 5 games, there's a goal, and if say that the first goal of the game happens at 63 minutes, there's still the high percentage that there's still going to be another goal, and that's worth bearing in mind. You're going to get bigger than 1.5 at that particular moment. If the goal happens at 63 minutes, you're roughly going to get anything between sort of 8 to 11 and 4 to 5. Because of that goal just happening there, depending on who scores it, of course. So just a couple of in-play stats there for you to sort of consider. That's it with the preview. If you like the channel, give us a thumbs up and do subscribe to it, and check out all the previews that we have on the Betting Insight channel. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.